Signed up to fight for freedom. What a price you had to pay. Picture in her helmet, missing family every day. Your Lady Liberty, dressed like G.I. Jane. Some scars we'll never see. She will never be the same. She's a mother, she's a daughter, she's a sister and a friend. Standing tall in that uniform until the very end. When Uncle Sam called, she signed that line to serve. 'Cause you can't spell hero without her. On that old dusty base with the meadows that shine, she's been to hell and back for the stars and the stripes. Your Lady Liberty, dressed like G.I. Jane, and some scars we'll never see, and she will never be the same. She's a mother, she's a daughter, she's a sister and a friend. Standing tall in that uniform until the very end. When Uncle Sam called, she signed that line to serve. 'Cause you can't spell hero without her. Yeah, yes. For the ones that didn't make it, we will pause and then we cry. We can still see their smile in every sunrise. She's a mother, she's a daughter, she's a sister and a friend. Standing tall in that uniform until the very end. When Uncle Sam called, she signed that line to serve. 'Cause you can't spell hero without her. 'Cause you can't spell hero without her.
On. I was a signal officer. I should have. Distinguished guests, welcome to the 2025 Annual Army Women's Foundation Scholarship Awards and the Hall of Fame induction ceremony. Please stand for the singing of our national anthem. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light. What so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
The United States Army Women's Foundation. The United States Army Women's Foundation. Throughout our nation's history, women have fearlessly volunteered and served in the United States Army. Some of their stories of courage and commitment are documented in the history of our nation, yet there are many more stories to be told. Recognizing this need, the United States Army Women's Foundation was created to ensure the history of the Women's Army Corps and the contributions of all Army women would be remembered and celebrated. Today, by connecting the past and empowering the future, the Army Women's Foundation serves as a catalyst for honoring the service of Army women. The foundation also brings together women veterans of all backgrounds to share their unique experiences and empowers them through our scholarships, Hall of Fame, and educational programs. The Army Women's Foundation stands with Army women past, present, and future to guarantee service women are honored, empowered, connected, and their stories told.
It on? Good afternoon and welcome to the Army Women's Foundation Scholarship Awards and Hall of Fame ceremony. I'm Kathleen Gainey, and I was honored to join the Army Women's Foundation this past October as president, replacing Brigadier General Ann McDonald. Those were big shoes to fill. Thank you for joining us for this very important event. And for those of you who are virtually watching this as well, welcome. I particularly want to welcome our distinguished guests. The Honorable Secretary Fanning, former Secretary of the Army. The Honorable Christine Wormuth, former Secretary of the Army. The Honorable Tanya Bradshaw, former Deputy Secretary of the Veterans Affairs. And the Honorable Judge Tia M. Johnson of U.S. Court of Appeals for the Armed Forces. We're grateful for your attendance here to celebrate the recognition of these extraordinary women. We also have Hall of Fame members and champions in the audience today. Can we please have all of our current Hall of Fame members please stand and be recognized? And of course, our distinguished 2025 honorees who you're going to meet later. As we celebrate the Women's History Month, the Army Women's Foundation recognizes extraordinary and inspirational Army women through our scholarship awards and Hall of Fame induction ceremony. Women have played pivotal roles in the Army since the Revolutionary War, and today, women soldiers have earned the right to serve as Special Forces, Army Rangers, sappers, and in virtually every role in the United States Army. Talented and motivated women have changed the course of the history of their service. Army Women's Foundation was founded 56 years ago when members of the Army Women's Corps were determined to preserve their history of their service and to remain connected with the military they loved so much. Today, we continue to build upon their legacy through our scholarships, Hall of Fame, mentorship programs, developmental forums, and educational panel discussions while connecting women service members and veterans all over the world. We could not do what we do, honor, empower, and connect Army women without the generous support we receive from private donors and our corporate sponsors. Let's give them a hand. We also recognize our amazing partners whose support and collaboration is so essential to our work. First, Rees Across America, Chris Chapman, is broadcasting our program live on Rees Across America Radio. Chris, thank you for you and your team. We're very grateful for our partners at AUSA. Nzinga Curry is here to represent AUSA. And we thank Tracy Bradford of the U.S. Army Women's Museum in Fort Gregg Adams. Tracy is at the museum doing that great work today. We also recognize Steve Lee and Erlene Hollerith here from the Korea Defense Veterans Association. And to our partners, Military Women's Memorial. Phyllis, thank you for you and your wonderful team. At this time, we have a very special induction into the Army Women's Hall of Fame. Let me welcome to the stage our Executive Director, Sue Fulton.
The United States Army Women's Hall of Fame honors the powerful history of women who have served in our nation's military. Sometimes this recognition is long delayed. But today we are very honored to welcome a special presenter for a very special induction. Please join me in welcoming from the great state of Maryland, Lieutenant Governor Aruna Miller.
Thank you so much, Doris. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much, Sue, for your lovely introduction. They say if you want something said, ask a man. If you want something done, ask a woman. But if you want something done with precision, resilience, and discipline, ask an Army woman. And today we celebrate exactly that. Thank you to the U.S. Army Women's Foundation for bringing us together for such an important occasion. I am Aruna Miller, Lieutenant Governor of Maryland, and it's a great honor to be here. I also bring warm greetings to you from our Governor Moore, a proud U.S. Army veteran of the 82nd Airborne. To every service member and veteran, your sacrifice is a testament to the highest ideals of duty, honor, and country. We thank you. To the families and loved ones, it's your support and unconditional love that made their service possible, so we thank you. To the 2025 Hall of Fame inductees and scholarship recipients, a heartfelt congratulations to each and every single one of you. This room is filled with your biggest fans, here to celebrate you and the remarkable achievements that have inspired us all. Today, we're not just honoring what you've accomplished, we're also celebrating the dedication, excellence that you bring with you everywhere you go. There are names in history that don't just belong in the past. They echo into our present and shape our future. Harriet Tubman is one of those names. Born into slavery in Dorchester County, Maryland, she escaped, became a fearless conductor of the Underground Railroad, a leading figure in the abolitionist movement. She was often called the Moses of her people. She was a warrior, a freedom fighter, and a military strategist. During the Civil War, she broke gender and racial barriers by serving as a nurse, scout, and spy for the Union Army. Now, what's remarkable is that Harriet Tubman's military service is not just her role, but she was the first women, and certainly one of the first American women to serve so actively in the military. Harriet Tubman is much like the great state of Maryland, small but mighty. She worked with newly freed people to gather intelligence, recruiting and training many to go back into the Confederate territory as spies, helping secure Union victories and preserve the Union. She successfully led the famous Combahee River Raid, freeing an estimated 750 men, women, and children, seizing or destroying millions of supplies and opening river for Union boats. Harriet Tubman's service as a veteran was not only tactical, it was a profound act of defiance against oppression. Harriet Tubman showed us time and again that true leadership is not defined by the titles we hold, the uniforms we wear, or the weapons we wield, but by something far greater. That is our belief in the greater good and our unwavering commitment to justice, freedom, and equality, and humanity. In recognition of her extraordinary contributions and timeless legacy, Governor Moore posthumously commissioned her as Brigadier General in the Maryland National Guard during a Veterans Day ceremony. Now, I have to tell you my personal story of General Harriet Tubman, and it goes something like this. I came to this country as an immigrant at the age of 7 years old. I was an ESOL student. I remember learning about Harriet Tubman when I was cast as her in an elementary school play. I grew up in Missouri, and there wasn't a lot of diversity there, and I was the one diverse child in that classroom. But I gotta tell you, stepping into that role as a child, I didn't fully grasp the depth of her courage, but once the seed is planted, it grows, and her story stayed with me. That young girl is now the Lieutenant Governor of Maryland. And the first portrait that I commissioned, and the only portrait in the Lieutenant Governor's office, is that of Harriet Tubman. Every day when I walk into the office, her portrait is a powerful reminder of the courage it takes to stand up for what is right, and that justice, freedom, and equality are ideals worth any sacrifice. General Tubman once said, "There was one of two things I had a right to, liberty or death. If I could not have one, I would have the other." Today, we honor and induct General Harriet Tubman into the Hall of Fame. Her legacy transcends time. Her courage teaches us that freedom is never just about one person. It's about all of us. In Maryland, we are proud to claim General Tubman as our very own. As Americans, it is our collective responsibility to carry forward her legacy, to stand up, to speak out, and to never turn our back when justice is on the line. So please, join me in welcoming Ernestine Wyatt, General Tubman's 3 times great niece, who will now accept this honor.
Find my glasses. I can't see. Well, I want to thank the Army Women's Foundation for giving this award to honor Aunt Harriet, and I am honored to receive that for her. So I want to say good afternoon and greetings to all. And my name, again, is Ernestine Tina Martin Wyatt. And I am a great-great-great-grandniece of Harriet Ross Tubman, who I have the privilege of calling her aunt. Many people call her aunt out of reverence, but I call her aunt because she is that to me. I call her aunt because she was the younger sister of my great-great-grandmother, Soph. My grandmother, who I knew well, had a relationship with Aunt Harriet as a young child. And in connecting with Aunt Harriet's faith, it has also allowed me to know her well. I feel that I know her well through that. I connected with her through that. Faith and freedom and family was always on the mind of Harriet Tubman, and in that order. From the time she can remember, she was always talking to the Lord. Although Aunt Harriet is and has been an inspiration to many, it was God who truly inspired her. Before she became Brigadier General posthumously, she got her marching orders from a five-star general, the great I am, God himself. Her mind was set free first, which allowed her to then free her body from bondage. Aunt Harriet self-liberated in 1849. Once she crossed the line of freedom, she remembered that her family and friends were still in that same bondage. She left and set out to successfully free them also. However, there always was a question: who, what, where is the need? She found that justice, equality, and inclusion was the never-ever ending need facing those who were suffering and oppressed: the enslaved, the freed, women, the homeless, and the elderly. The major areas in her life that she focused on included the Underground Railroad, Civil War, women's suffrage, and providing for the homeless, the elderly, and the infirmed. However, it was her role in the Civil War that has been the catalyst since 2019 in receiving recognition and awards from the different branches of the military. At the request of Governor John Andrews of Massachusetts in 1862, and using all of her skills, talents, and relationship with God, she went into the bowels of the enemy as a free woman to serve as a spy and a leader of scouts, gathering intelligence for the Union Army. A woman of many abilities, and also nursed and acted as a pharmacist, using her knowledge of herbs and roots to make medicines to heal others. When she healed a general based from her concoctions that she made, where she learned from her mother, and she healed him, and he told her that he wanted her to go and use the same thing on the other soldiers who were dying of dysentery and malaria and things like that. So he told them, do whatever she tells you to do so that she can nurse them back to health. She also acted in the role of entrepreneurship. She took the only money she had and set up a field kitchen and wash houses, teaching the newly freed how to make and sell goods and services. After gathering needed information, she helped to analyze, strategize, and plan the raid on the Combahee River, where she was the lead under Colonel James Montgomery on June 1st to 2nd, 1863, destroying the enemy's ammunition and bringing freedom to 750 or more enslaved. The emphasis that I want to say, this woman who could not read or write, but she was highly intelligent. She could analyze any type of situation. She knew how to strategize to make it work, and then she set out to make the plan. A plan is what she always followed. And most of the time, I would say all of the time, God was at the head of that plan. Not giving thought to the peril she had placed herself in, she disguised herself using discernment of people and situations to accomplish the goal of helping to restore democracy. Throughout the rest of her life, she continued to have freedom on her mind. See, we think of freedom as only in the body, but freedom has to start here. You start with the way you think about yourself, and that's what she did. Selfless in her attitude and always looking to be a person of helps and encouragement, she was relentless in helping others free themselves from the circumstances that could keep them down in life after being free from enslavement. She used those same abilities, creativeness, and discernment to help free them, such as bidding for another dwelling that would provide housing for the sick, elderly, and those without families to feel loved and cared for with dignity. In her heart, the elderly were the most important to her. And with all of that, when Aunt Harriet finally went home after the Civil War, the home she called was in Auburn, New York. That's where she ended her life. That's where she took all of us that were left after those were sold, other family members were sold off, and changed our names to Stewart. And that is where we were raised. My mother, my family line, my grandmother, her mother, and then her mother, which was Soph's daughter, was all they were all in Auburn, New York. And that's where I spent most of my time growing up and on weekends. So what I'm going to say is Aunt Harriet was active, lending her voice and being supportive of various causes until a few years before she died, showing that age was only a number. Thank you.
Wow, that was amazing. Lieutenant Governor Miller, thank you so very much. We know your time is very limited, and to give us that time today, it really meant so much to all of us. And to pay tribute to this remarkable woman, this leader, all of us who have worn the uniform owe her a great debt of gratitude. Today, we are so thrilled to present our annual scholarships and to honor some of the extraordinary women as we induct them into the Army Women's Hall of Fame. Hosting today's Legacy Scholarship presentation is a trailblazer, a leader, and an Army Women's Foundation board member. She served 30 years as a military nurse and commanded at the Army Medical Activity and Reynolds Army Community Hospital at Fort Sill, Oklahoma. She was one of the first non-physician brigade level commanders. Please help me welcome the chair of the Scholarship Awards Committee, Colonel Retired Alice Damaris.
I keep meaning to get rid of that picture. Okay. Thank you, Kathy. Good afternoon, and welcome to the Scholarship Awards portion of today's ceremony. This year, we received 323 online scholarship applications, and our volunteer committee spent many long hours reviewing the 52 complete applications that we received, and we selected the recipients for this year. As in previous years, the quality and completeness of the applications gets better and better, which makes the selections harder and harder, but it continues to be a labor of love for the committee. Since 2008, and including today's recipients, we've awarded 417 scholarships for nearly $800,000. Today, on behalf of the Army Women's Foundation Legacy Scholarship Program and its committee, I'm proud to announce the names of 25 Legacy Scholarship recipients and their sponsors. As at past events, we are honored to have some sponsors and some recipients with us here today. Because we grant awards to scholars from all over the world, most of our recipients are unable to attend our ceremony. They're also in school. But I assure you they greatly appreciate the opportunity these scholarships provide. We honor them, and we also honor the generous sponsors who make all this possible. Our first group of scholars are sponsored by a longtime supporter of the foundation, the Pritzker Military Library and Museum. And these scholars are Shayna Mugenberg, an Army nurse in the reserves who's a graduate student at Johns Hopkins University, preparing to be a nurse practitioner, and Ying Wang, a JAG officer in the reserves pursuing a Master in Public Administration at Harvard University. Congratulations to Shayna, and thanks again to Pritzker for their constant support for the Army Women's Foundation. Another continuing sponsor of the Legacy Scholarship Program is Visory Health, and we are pleased to have with us here today Abby Kyanin, an Army veteran and the Director of Marketing at Visory Health, and we invite her to the stage to be honored. Kathy. We think it's important for the sponsors certainly to be recognized for all that they do, and we just have a small certificate for them expressing our appreciation. Thank you, Abby. And the 2025 Visory Health Scholars are Claire Peruccio, a former Army corporal, laboratory technician, excuse me, who's a student at the University of Texas at El Paso studying microbiology with the intent of becoming a physician, and Blundi Ramos, a sergeant in the Army Reserve, who's an undergraduate at the University of Houston pursuing a degree in psychology. Thank you to Visory Health, and we extend our congratulations to Claire and to Blundi. One of the earliest sponsors of the Legacy Scholarship Program is Caliber Systems, and we're happy to have with us today Caliber's Vice President for Strategic Initiatives, Lieutenant General Richard Formica, with us here today, and I'd ask General Formica to come to the stage. Now stay there, because the recipient of the Caliber Systems 2025 Legacy Scholarship is Nina Nunnally, a student at Morgan State University majoring in screenwriting and animation. Nina's parents, Charmaine and Joshua, are both Army veterans, and we're happy to say that they're here today, and I'd ask them all to come to the stage. We are grateful to Caliber for their continuing support of the scholarship programs, and congratulations to Naya. Another early sponsor that's a better picture than mine, you know. Another early sponsor of the Legacy Scholarship Program is Geico Military. Regrettably, the representative from Geico couldn't be here today, but we're glad to say that the 2025 Geico Military Scholar is here with Mitchell Jackson, an Army veteran and doctoral candidate at Hood College majoring in organizational leadership. Please join us. Thank you, Geico Military, and congratulations to Mitchell. Stantec Consulting continues to support the Army Women's Foundation with its generous contributions, and we're happy to invite to the podium Karen Ashton, a senior project manager, and Sherelle Donaldson, a global talent acquisition consultant from Stantec, and we'd ask them to come to be recognized. This year's Stantec Scholar is Julianne Seeley, the daughter of not one, but two Army nurses. Julianne is a pre-med student at Augustana University and is a previous recipient of a Legacy Scholarship. So So thank you to Karen and Sherelle and to Stantec, and congratulations to Julianne. The recipient of the 2025 Thundercat Technology Scholarship is Dorcas Majer-Koon-Dumi. I called Dorcas to find out how to say her name. She's a sergeant in the reserves who is a horizontal construction engineer and an undergraduate student at Northern Kentucky University, majoring in mechanical and manufacturing engineering. We're pleased to be able to thank Thundercat Technology in person today for their commitment to the foundation by welcoming Jocelyn Glotzer and ask her to come to the stage. As well as Megan Battaglia, the Vice President for Marketing at Thundercat, excuse me. Thank you again to Thundercat, and congratulations to Dorcas. Last year, Professional Contract Services Incorporated, PCSI, established special scholarships for disabled Army women, veterans, or their lineal descendants. We're pleased to have Andrea Spratley, Senior Manager of the PCSI People Team, with us here today, and we'd like to have Andrea join us on the stage. For the 2025 PSI Awards, the Scholarship Committee selected Cassie Bailey, a 100% disabled Army nurse veteran who's pursuing a doctorate in nursing practice at the University of San Francisco. Cassie couldn't be here today, but has sent us a video that expresses her appreciation.
Hello, Mr. Kukilo, representatives from PCSI, and members of the Army Women's Foundation. My name is Cassie Bailey, and I am honored and grateful to have been selected to be a recipient of the PCSI scholarship from your organization. This scholarship is a tremendous gift that will allow me to continue to focus on my studies and continue pursuing my goal in becoming a doctorate level family nurse practitioner. Thanks to your generosity, I am one step closer to achieving my educational and career goals, as well as teaching my child that resilience and hard work are the keys to reaching your true potential. Thank you for all that you do to support veterans in all capacities. I am truly inspired, and I hope to be able to do the same for veterans in the future. Thank you again. God bless.
Scholar is Johanna Nelson, a servicewoman who's 70% disabled and is an undergraduate student at the Southern New Hampshire University, majoring in business administration. Congratulations to Cassie and Johanna, and thank you to PCSI for being such a stalwart sponsor. In 2023, the 688 Scholarship was created and dedicated to honor and recognize the service of the women of the 688 Central Postal Directory Battalion during World War II. Through the efforts of 3 members of the Army Women's Foundation Hall of Fame, the 688 Scholarship has been initiated and funded through individual donations expressly specified for this scholarship. The 3 founders of this scholarship are Brigadier General Adams Ender, Colonel Edna Cummings, and Master Sergeant Elizabeth Helm Frazier. We're pleased to have these 3 founders with us here today, and I ask them to come to the podium to be recognized. The 2025 688 Scholarship is awarded to Layla Maddox, a graduate student at Southern New Hampshire University, majoring in forensic psychology, hoping to become an attorney. Thank you to General Adam Zender, Colonel Cummings, and Master Sergeant Helm Frazier, and to all those who contributed to this scholarship, and congratulations to Layla. The 2025 recipient of the M.M. Costello Scholarship is Kiera Ship, an undergraduate nursing student at Howard University. Kiera's mom was a unit supply specialist who deployed to Iraq, and Kiera wanted to carry on her mother's service legacy by becoming a nurse practitioner. Kara was going to be here today, but she had a chemistry test. Award, test. Okay. Anyway, this award is the result of a donation made to the Legacy Scholarship Program by John and Gail Howell, who have been longtime supporters of the foundation. We're very excited to introduce John and Gail Howell and ask them to come to the podium to thank them appropriately. The Howells instituted the Costello Scholarship to honor John's early mentor, Ms. M.M. Costello, a dedicated Department of the Army civilian nurse who, in John's words, taught him everything he needed to know to properly care for his patients. The Howells established this scholarship to support students pursuing healthcare careers. John and Gail and the foundation are excited to have this ongoing award, and which will continue to support the Legacy Scholarship in the coming years. Thank you. This year, the foundation is honored to announce the creation of the Lieutenant Colonel Nancy Poore Scholarship. This scholarship was established to honor the long service to the nation by Lieutenant Colonel Nancy Poore, Army nurse retired. Instituted by her husband, Lieutenant Colonel Lauren Poore, retired, and their son, Matthew Poore, this new scholarship will be awarded each year to a qualified applicant who is pursuing studies in the healthcare field. Lieutenant Colonel Nancy Poore initially enlisted in the Army as a combat medic, completed her degree, and became an Army nurse serving on active duty and in the reserves. As an Army spouse, Nancy followed her husband to numerous assignments, and she volunteered with the Red Cross and in the hospitals wherever they were assigned. Nancy completed her master's in nursing and worked as a school nurse at the Seoul American High School in Korea, completing her Army career with the 405th Combat Support Hospital in Maine. Lieutenant Colonel Nancy Poore embraced volunteering in many areas to include additional training missions with the Army Reserve, as a civilian with her church, and with the University of Southern Maine nursing program. Never one to sit idle, Colonel Poore worked as a civilian nurse while completing the Advanced Nursing Practice program at Simmons College. The recipient of this scholarship must highlight their volunteer experiences to reflect the service modeled by Lieutenant Colonel Nancy Poore. The recipient of the inaugural Lieutenant Colonel Nancy Poore Scholarship is Donna Bell, a sergeant in the Army Reserve and a nursing student at Germanna Community College. Donna mirrors Lieutenant Colonel Poore's start at a community college as well as her commitment to volunteering. Donna is an active volunteer at the homeless shelter, works in free clinics, and also at the YMCA. The Women's Foundation is excited to have with us today the founders of this scholarship, Lieutenant Colonel Lauren Poore and his son Matthew Poore, and I'd ask them to come to the podium to be with Donna. The foundation would like to thank Lauren and Matthew. So thanks again to Lauren and Matthew, and congratulations to Donna. Each year, the Army Women's Foundation presents scholarships in honor of two women who have had a huge impact on the role of women in the Army. Colonel Alveda Kolb-Hobie, the first director of the Army Women's Corps, and Ms. Dita Hopkins-Kinney, the first superintendent of the Army Nurse Corps. As in the past, the Army Women's Foundation Board of Directors and Advisors is proud to sponsor the Hobie and Kinney scholarships. The 2025 Hobie Scholarship is awarded to Kayla Lippincott, a Chemical Corps officer who is a graduate student at the University of Florida, majoring in forensic drug chemistry, and plans to join the Drug Reduction Threat Agency. And this year's recipient of the Kinney Scholarship is Lee Barry, a former Army Nurse Corps officer who is pursuing a graduate degree to become a certified nurse anesthetist at Northeastern University. Congratulations to Kayla and Lee, and thank you again to the Army Women's Foundation Board of Directors and Advisors. In 2018, the Army Women's Foundation and Trident University International formed a partnership to provide full undergraduate and graduate scholarships each year to 6 Army women students. To date, 10 scholars have been awarded these scholarships. The latest recipients of the Trident scholarships are both in the School of Business Administration, and they are Jacqueline Kennedy, who's a doctoral candidate, and Janine Nabidi, a graduate student in the master's program. Congratulations to Jacqueline and Janine, and thanks again to Trident. The window for the application for the 2025 Trident scholarships will open soon, so please share that news, and please go to our website for further information. In addition to these named scholarships, the Legacy Scholarship Program awards grants to the following Army women. Rachel Putney, a graduate student at Northeastern University majoring in educational learning and instruction. Esmeralda Rendon, a doctoral candidate in organizational leadership at Abilene Christian University, and Marlena Syvertson at Duke University pursuing a doctorate in nursing practice. The following children of Army women who have also been awarded legacy scholarships, and they are Aislinn Beauregard, who's in the doctoral occupational therapy program at the University of Texas Medical Branch at Galveston. Hannah Best, an undergraduate at Wilkes University majoring in early childhood education. Christiana Ford, a student at Florida State University with a double major in media communication studies and Spanish. Ariel Martin, a biology and pre-med student at the University of Minnesota Twin Cities. Leilani Martinez, an undergraduate at Cedar Crest College studying psychology and criminal justice. Allison Metzler, a psychology major at Boise State University, and Zara Thornhill, an undergraduate at Jacksonville State University with a focus on exercise science and wellness. Congratulations to these and all the scholarship recipients. I only have about 10 more pages. The Army Women's Foundation Legacy Scholarship Program would not be possible without the continuing support of our fabulous sponsors, and we can't say thank you to them too many times. There are several other sponsors in the audience that I'd like to recognize, and I'd please stand when I name you. We're happy to have Fluor as a longtime sponsor, and Fluor is represented here today by Lieutenant General Mick Bednarik, the Vice President for Strategic Outreach. And our very own Colonel Janie Carson, who's part of the Business Development and Army Logistics section at Fluor. And representing the Army Nurse Corps Association are Lieutenant Colonel Cindy Goldberg and Captain Daniel Craig. Finally, we'd also like to recognize 2 other sponsors who couldn't be here today, but we welcome their continuing support. Keep Your Hair Headgear and the Windsor Group. Let's have another round of applause for all our sponsors, recipients, and partners. The Army Women's Foundation Board of Directors is the backbone of this scholarship effort. Without their confidence, the committee, their confidence in the scholarship committee and their continuing support, a day like today would never come to fruition. We'd also like to acknowledge Ms. Beth Spitzley, the Director of Administration for the Foundation, and Ms. Danielle Osbot, the Administrative Assistant for the Foundation, who is also a Gold Star spouse. So Beth and Dan, there's Beth. Where's Danielle? Danielle's in the back. Finally, thanks to the members of our Legacy Scholarship Committee, these dedicated volunteers spend countless hours reviewing applications and doing their level best to select the best candidates and to keep the program relevant. I'd like the members who are here today to please stand and be recognized. Colonel Janie Carson, Lieutenant Colonel Mary Spring, and Staff Sergeant Stephanie Mitchell. Oh, in the back, sorry. Regrettably, our other committee members, Patricia Gronkowitz and April Booth, couldn't be here today, but we appreciate their work. And now, to lead the Hall of Fame induction ceremony, I'm proud to introduce again the Executive Director of the Army Women's Foundation, a member of the first class of women at West Point, an Army veteran, and former Assistant Secretary of the Department of Veterans Affairs, Ms. Sue Fulton. Sue.
Thank you so much, Alice. Did you guys miss me? The Army Women's Hall of Fame honors the incredible legacy of women who have donned the cloth of our nation, and we support the women who continue to serve with distinction, especially those in roles which women were long considered to be ineligible for. As opportunities have opened for Army women, they have blown through obstacles and busted down stereotypes, commanded combat forces, earning Ranger tabs, including women like Ranger qualified Lieutenant Rachel Kicklighter. After the death of two of her classmates at Ranger School, she more than anyone pulled the Ranger class together and helped them drive on. And her classmates selected her to be their distinguished honor graduate. While our pictures and videos may be erased on websites, our history can never be erased. I see you, General Adams Ender. That is the mission of the Army Women's Foundation. The women we honor today, like many who came before and after, broke ground, opened doors, and made the choice of a military career easier for those who followed. So let's get to it. So I'm going to read an introduction of each honoree. When I'm finished, the honoree will come up. Phyllis Wilson, please come forward. Hi. She is always on it. The president of the Military Women's Memorial will present each woman with a replica of her profile from the Women's Memorial Archive. Then our president, Kathy Gainey, will invest her into the Army Women's Hall of Fame with a medal and a certificate. We'll take pictures, then our honoree will go to that microphone to make her own remarks. Got it? Let's go. Lieutenant General Patricia McQuistion broke barriers in the Army by being the first female commander to serve in many command roles. First company commander in a Pershing unit, 1st Division G4, 1st Depot Commander, Commander 21st Theater Support Command, Commander Army Sustainment Command. With her incredible leadership, compassion, and technical competence, she changed many people's opinion of women in the military. After retirement, she served as vice president for membership and meetings at AUSA and played a pivotal role in AWF hosting a panel during the AUSA annual meeting. Pat is married to retired Army Colonel Leif Johnson. They have 3 grown children, 3 grandchildren, a golden retriever, and a nearly invisible cat. Please join me in congratulating and welcoming into the Hall of Fame Lieutenant General Patricia McQuistion. Pat McQuistion couldn't join us today, but she sent a video of her remarks.
Good afternoon. I want to start by thanking the Army Women's Foundation, its board, and all its supporters for the very humbling honor to have my name included in the Hall of Fame and to join those previously honored. I'm so sorry not to be there in person with you because I want to see all of you and to support the other members of the class of 2025. They are such amazing leaders. I am in awe of them and have been for many years. Harriet Tubman has been a guiding light since I learned about her in elementary school. How brave, how selfless, how effective. My favorite quote attributed to her is, "Every dream begins with a dreamer. Always remember, you have within you the strength, the patience, and the passion to reach for the stars to change the world. A special thank you to Kathy Gainey. She's always been a shining example for me, helping so many of us at every turn. And when I tried to thank her personally, she just said, we were battle buddies, forged in fire. I remember some very tough times we went through together, but even more, I cherish the great things we were able to do, working together and supporting each other while we supported combat operations and peacetime operations. My heartfelt thanks also to Beth Spitzley, who notified me of selection and then was so patient with me when I told her I'd have to do this remotely. Beth, I owe you at least 3 drinks, probably more. Having attended many of these ceremonies in the past with Ann McDonald, another inspiration, and Command Sergeant Major Pritchett, I know the camaraderie and teamwork will be so evident and pervade the room. Gina Farrisee and Barb Dornick, I love you guys. I know how deserving you both are of this recognition. You're phenomenal. Command Sergeant Major Graham, Captain Evans, Sergeant Major Cazares, I wish I could hear more about your stories at this ceremony. I'd be standing out woo-hooing for all of you if I was there. I wish I were. I also want to congratulate the scholarship recipients. Getting help with your education is priceless, and I applaud the Army Women's Foundation for continuing to provide this much-needed support. I'm recording this on February 11th, far enough in advance to make sure it's usable for the ceremony. It's snowing outside. The weather folks are predicting up to 8 inches here in King William, Virginia. So it's quiet and beautiful. Our dog Angel is curled up in the foyer, snoring just a little. I'm not able to be with you because of a trip my husband has been looking forward to for 10 years. That's how long he's been trying to talk me into doing a Norwegian cruise to observe the Northern Lights in person. He booked this trip in 2023 and convinced a bunch of other people to do it too, so it couldn't really change the plan. Boy, I hope the Northern Lights are spectacular for his benefit. He deserves to have his dreams come true. He's definitely reaching for the stars right now. You know, I retired from the Army in 2015 after almost 35 years of uniformed service. Some days it seems like yesterday, some days it's like a million years ago. I was an ordnance officer starting out in missile maintenance and progressing over the years to the full range of maintenance, supply, transportation, integrated logistics, and supply chain management. I love that about the Army. I always had important work to do, was always learning something new, was expanding my horizons and going to places I had to look up on a map, and getting to work with the best people in the world. As a young officer, I was often the only woman in the room or in a meeting, but I tried not to focus on that. My goal was always to concentrate on the mission, try to be a good teammate, compete against a very high standard and not against other people. I think I was always surprised and a little uncomfortable when I took a new position and the story in the local paper would lead with the headline, First Female 2, Command Pershing Unit, be the Division G4, Commanded Depot, etc. I can't tell you how nice it was toward the end of my career to see dozens of women in top Army leadership roles. I want that for today's Army, not for women, but for our country. I loved my time in the Army. Admittedly, some days were better than others, but I look back at all the things I was able to do serving my country, all the hard lessons I learned, all the amazing people I've met and worked with. I reflect on the education and experiences we've been able to give our 3 kids and now our grandkids. For me, I can't imagine a life better lived. I may not have changed the world as Harriet Tubman did, or others in this room, but I did bring my dreams, strength, and passion to try my best every day. I'm still working on the patience part. I hope all of you have a wonderful time together today. Congratulations to all of you. Thank you for letting me be on your team.
Moving on. Major General retired Gina Farrisee had a distinguished career in and out of uniform. She was the first woman to command the Army's Human Resources Command, HRC, and the second woman ever to serve as the Army's Director of Military Personnel Management. After commanding at every level from captain to major general, she left the Army but continued to serve veterans, their families, caregivers, and survivors as a senior human resources executive at the Department of Veterans Affairs for another decade, serving under 3 presidential administrations. Please join me in welcoming to the Hall of Fame Major General retired Gina Farrisee.
remembered my password. We're good. Phew. It's a great Army Day and a privilege to be here with all of you today. I'm humbled to share this day with today's inductees as well as those of past years. I had the pleasure of knowing and serving with Barb Dornick and Pat McQuistion during our active duty days. Congratulations to all. Thank you for this prestigious event of induction into the U.S. Army Women's Foundation Hall of Fame. The ceremony is appropriately planned during Women's History Month, a time to celebrate and honor the remarkable contributions of women, especially women in the U.S. military. I would like to thank Ann McDonald for her dedicated 8 years of leadership to the Army Women's Foundation and congratulate Kathy Gainey from the bottom of my heart for taking this role as the president of AWF. I share with Kathy the achievement as one of the first 2 female ROTC cadets to make flag officer. I fondly remember my ROTC days, being offered an ROTC scholarship and quickly declining because that commitment would have been 4 years instead of 3. And that seemed like a lifetime to me. There is no doubt I surprised many by serving 34 very special years in uniform. I had the phenomenal opportunity to serve with extraordinary people on the best and the most challenging days. They are the reason I am bestowed this honor today. Every success and achievement was because of the amazing teams who supported me. Every step of the way, some of them most dedicated and selfless serving individuals you will ever want to have served with. That's what the Army is all about, the people. They complete the experience and make it amazing every day. That is why being in the people business is so rewarding. I have many thanks to give, but there are too many to name, including mentors like Major General retired D. McWilliams, a skillful leader and friend for many years. Dee swore me into the regular Army while assigned to Fort Lewis, just one of the many impacts she had on my career, along with teaching me the care and feeding of peaches. My sincere, she laughed, we're good. My sincere thanks to the exceptionally talented ladies who surprisingly submitted my nomination. You were too much. Colonel retired Angie Holbrook and Major General Hope Rampey. I am grateful for your continued service in and out of uniform. You both are important memories in my career. Thank you for your continued selfless service. I had the distinct opportunity following my Army career to serve in the Department of Veterans Affairs. After service with soldiers, I could not think of a more worthy transition than to serve veterans. I had the opportunity to serve in a political position and to return serving as a federal civilian employee at the VA headquarters. Once again, I had the amazing experience of serving with some exceptional professionals who work tirelessly to take care of veterans. The best example of that is the Honorable Tanya Bradsher, former Deputy Secretary, Department of Veteran Affairs, who I had the privilege of working for at the VA. I'm appreciative for having had the experience with the VA, who every day makes a difference for veterans. The support of our families and friends throughout my years of service meant so much to us and played a major role. There's no doubt the love, support, and advice from my foxhole mate, Colonel retired David Pharisee, over the last 45 years was always and still is most important to all I have achieved. We have seen throughout history, women played vital roles in shaping the armed forces and have been breaking barriers since the Revolutionary War. Since joining the Army in 1978, the Women's Army Corps disbanded. Since the Gulf War, women's expanded roles in combat support broke barriers in combat roles overall. The 1993 Combat Exclusion Policy Revision allowed even more roles, further expanding women's career opportunities. 2001 to 2020 led to increased deployment of women in combat roles, women admitted to infantry branch, and women graduating from Ranger School, continuing to demonstrate adaptability, courage, and resilience. I have no doubt women will continue breaking barriers and continue to excel. As history has proven, we are up to the challenge. Again, I want to thank you for this tremendous honor and such a special day hosted by the Army Women's Foundation. A very sincere thanks to Beth Spitzley for all you did to make today possible. She made everything so easy. Thank you, Beth. I appreciate it. Again, thank you to the foundation and everything that goes into putting this ceremony together. It is such an honor, and it has been so wonderful to see so many friends. Thank you for being here today.
Brigadier General retired Barbara Dornick served for 31 years, blazing trails from the beginning. She commanded a company in the most deployed organization in the U.S. Army. But as a lieutenant, she was hand-selected to be one of the first few women officers at West Point when the first class of women were admitted. Point of personal privilege. It was not a given that women who started West Point in 1976 would make it. I see a couple classmates out there. That half of us graduated was due in no small part to then Captain Dornick's leadership, mentorship, and support. On behalf of the class of 1980, I want to say thank you, ma'am. In 1994, she became the first woman to command an airborne brigade, the 507th Corps Support Group. And in her first jump as commander, she was put in the trees. Ending high up in a North Carolina pine, she had to climb down her spare parachute to reach the ground. Nevertheless, she persisted. In the wake of 9/11, as a general officer, she directed the surface deployment of U.S. forces to Afghanistan and Iraq. And close to our heart, she participated in the Army Women's Foundation first national event in 2009 as part of a panel on the role of women in the Army and its evolution. Please join me in welcoming into the Hall of Fame Brigadier General Barb Dornick, U.S. Army retired.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you, Sue, who I've known forever. It was one of those things when she was 18 when I met her, and along with the rest of that course, I was only a pup myself. I was a first lieutenant, hardly knew what I was doing there. I went for 3 months, and they kept me for 3 years. So what? Anyway, I joined the Army in 1973. I joined it mainly because I didn't want to go to law school right away. I thought I ought to, maybe I grew up on college campuses, and maybe I ought to go see the world. And so it was a time when the Army was looking for quality people to join because the draft had ended and they were having trouble filling the ranks of the military. So they were actively pursuing women. So I was in the first large class of women. It was called the Women's Officer Orientation Course. We were the first large group of us. And it was a shock in August in Alabama, I will just tell you that. And then after we were oriented, they shipped us off to branch basics, and I went off to mine in Virginia, Transportation Corps. And it was I found out my first assignment was supposed to be to Fort Bragg, and then I was changed to Fort Devens, Massachusetts, which I thought was fine because I was a history buff, and I thought, well, this will be great, you know, home of the Revolution and all the stuff that happened, Boston Tea Party. I found out I was a Department of the Army test case. They were seeing whether women could survive in regular units because it was so new. So here was Lieutenant Dornick in a medium truck company in a combat engineer battalion. It was 900 men and me. Very, very, very interesting for a sorority girl from Washington State University. So, but I will say that I was fortunate in one regard. As I drove in that day to the installation, the young MP on the gate, instead of shipping me to where I should have signed in at the post headquarters at personnel, he looked at my orders and they clearly said the unit, and he sent me directly there. Well, it was a Friday afternoon before a long weekend, and the first sergeant was holding court in the orderly room. And he was behind a big desk, smoking a cigarette, and the room was filled with all the NCOs, most of them smoking, so it was the proverbial smoke-filled room. I walk in, and I'm not wearing a uniform, because I drove up that day, and he says, "Yes, ma'am, can I help you?" And I said, "Well, it's First Sergeant. I'm Lieutenant Dornick, and I'm assigned to the 104th. Where do I sign in?" And he leans back, and he was a big, big man. He leans back and he starts laughing. He says, "A whack?" And I said, "No, First Sergeant, I am a Transportation Corps officer. Where do I sign in?" Whoa. Two little orderlies come scurrying out of the back. "Ma'am, here." So at the end of that long weekend, I show back up, and something has happened. The First Sergeant was relieved over the weekend. Had nothing to do with me. He was relieved from an investigation that had been going on for some 9 months, and finally. But all anybody knew locally was he tangled with that new lieutenant, and he was gone. Sometimes it's better to be lucky. It probably saved me a lot of grief in a lot of ways, because I didn't go through I went through, I had to go through prop washes and stuff but I didn't go through a lot of stuff that a lot of lieutenants did. Because, first of all, they just weren't afraid, they were afraid of me, because stuff could happen to them. Anyway, so I didn't know I was a DA test case until as I was leaving the installation, but every month they were writing a report on how I was doing, sending me off. So my second assignment, as Sue alluded to, was to go to West Point to be a role model for the bringing of the new cadets for that summer. And it was only supposed to be 3 months, but they kept me for 3 years. I remember the phone call with my assignment officer. He said, "How would you like to stay?" I said, "I wouldn't." Let me tell you, being a lieutenant at West Point's a terrible thing. You salute everybody up, and you have to salute everybody down. You have no contemporaries. I had 2 nurses that were lieutenants. Everybody else was outranked, or they outranked me. And he said, "Well, if you don't instead of going to the advanced course early like we discussed, there's a little hall in a little caserne in a little place in Germany that we will assign you to, and you will probably never come out." I said, "So I think 3 years here at West Point would be just fine." And I've never regretted it. I did learn a lot, and they sent me to airborne school, which I got to be the first woman commander of airborne class, because West Point had sent me there prior to sending female cadets. And they didn't want to mess with that, so they let me be the class commander because I was the ranking person. I was a brand new captain, so. Another little fun first, huh? So, I had a normal assignment pattern pretty much. Company command, S3, battalion XO. Went to the schools you're supposed to, was a division transportation officer, battalion XO and a forward support battalion, a discom operations officer, then a brigade commander, and then more staff assignments at an assignment officer at DA, log operations officer at UCOM, and in the Army G4. More command in DLA, operations again at SDDC, and that was deploying everybody off to the big one. That was kind of a, people said after I retired, because that was my last job, they'd see me about 6 months later, they said, "You look years younger." I said, "I feel years younger." Oh, yeah. So during my career, I was often a first. Mostly by circumstance, rarely by choice. And I found, particularly in those early days, there was a crowd, about 10%, maybe less than that, who were opposed to women in the military, except in the traditional roles that WACs had served in for years, and of course they allowed Army nurses. And there were about 10% who were such advocates that they would often push you out of the way to try and open the door. They were too boisterous in there. But 80% of the people I dealt with in my military career in those early days were really just concerned about the quality of your contribution. You know, what could you do? Quality of your work. And somewhere up and down that scale you slid, and they evaluated on that. And that's really all we want. That's all anybody ever wants. This talk of meritocracy is nuts. It's quality of the standards and the work that you do and to adhere to them. So that setting, installing, and working to the quality contribution, it's what prepared me for a successful follow-on career in business. It's what allowed me to mentor, coach, and teach, both in the Army and in business later. It's what gave me great satisfaction of having served my country to the best of my ability and believing that as I left, I had made a difference. And I look at these interesting times that we are in today, and for the young women who have chosen to serve, and I feel in some ways they're going to go through some of that again, not by choice, but by circumstance. And I am overwhelmingly confident that they will prevail. So I thank the foundation, and I thank everyone today, and I thank you all for your contribution to women in the military, and particularly women in the Army. Thank you very much.
Command Sergeant Major retired Cynthia Graham has a lot of firsts to her name as well. She was the first woman Chief Movement Supervisor for HHD 1st Engineer Detachment, first woman Platoon Sergeant of the 513th Transportation Company, a lot of transpos here, right? And the first female Sergeant Audie Murphy recipient at Fort Lewis, Washington. In 2002, she was hand-selected by the United States Army Maneuver Support Center at Fort Leonard Wood to be the first female first sergeant of over 650 soldiers and 1,000 civilians. Today, she and her spouse have their own business, Graham's Goods LLC, supporting all branches of the service, military academies, police and fire departments, and all the colleges and universities in North Carolina. Please join me in welcoming into the Hall of Fame Command Sergeant Major Cynthia Graham. Cynthia couldn't join us today, except the award on her behalf is her nephew, U.S. Marine Corps Gunnery Sergeant Jude Stewart. Gunnery Sergeant Stewart, please come up. And then you're going to step here. Yeah, thank you.
Hello. My name is Gunnery Sergeant Jude Stewart, and I'm here I'm here on behalf of my aunt, Command Sergeant Major Cynthia Graham, retired, who could not be here today. She would like to thank Brigadier General Rebecca Halstead, retired, for nominating her to this prestigious foundation celebrating women's service past, present, and future. Cynthia would also like to thank her husband, Sergeant Major Jonathan Graham, retired, and her sons, Derek, a Marine veteran, and Amore, a Navy veteran, for supporting her 2-decade-long career and all that it entailed. And to all her extended family that took up the torch by serving in the military, past and present. Her 2 sisters in the Army and the Air Force. Her 2 brothers-in-law in the Army and the Air Force. A nephew in the Marine Corps, that's me. And a grandfather who was a World War II bomber pilot. She recalled that when entering the Army, there were very few women, and in most cases, none in her unit nor any leadership position that she could emulate or go to for advice when it came to progression or promotion. Women were often overlooked on many occasions, and the more she was told she could not do something, the harder she tried. As she demonstrated her capability, leadership started to notice, and a few offered mentorship and advice, and she was energized to grow and become a leader that young women could look up to and see that, in fact, women could make a difference and excel not only in the military occupation, but as a mentor and as a leader. As she progressed through the ranks, she was many times the first female to fill a position, work on a program, or to be recognized for her accomplishments. But she never forgot where she started and how she felt not seeing someone that looked like her in anywhere in her chain of command. She strived to make a difference, no matter the task. She realized that every promotion she received was due to hard work that was not only hers, but that of her soldiers that worked with her and for her, and that they deserved recognition as well. Cynthia had a few mentors that she would wish to thank. Command Sergeant Major Paul Nelson, retired, for teaching her patience, and that spreadsheets are needed to keep track of almost everything. Lieutenant Colonel Jerry Hart, retired, for teaching her how to be politically correct. Colonel Chris Hart, retired, who taught her that men will follow women into battle. You just had to lead from the front. And yes, Jerry and Chris are twins. Every soldier that worked with her throughout her career. And Brigadier General Rebecca Halstead, retired, Colonel Sharon Duffy, retired, and Colonel Sue Sowers, retired, for their constant advice, for being a sounding board, for their mentorship, for their leadership techniques while she was deployed to Iraq, and for friendship upon returning. Of course, she also wants to mention her spouse, who was, as always, a fitness partner for her, a study mate, a sounding board, and she points out that they were never in competition. Well, most of the time. Being inducted into the Army Women's Hall of Fame is an honor, and she does not take that lightly. She used to tell her female soldiers, women have always been in history, but we need to focus on making history. She would always be mentoring her soldiers, both men and women, at the importance of knowing your worth and telling them, you never lose, you learn. She thanks you for the honor of being inducted today, along with all the fabulous women past and present who serve and who will serve. Thank you.
Diane Carlson Evans served as an Army nurse for 6 years during the height of the Vietnam War. She was assigned to 36th Evacuation Hospital Burn Unit in Vung Tau and at Pleiku in the 71st Evacuation Hospital. After the war, she dedicated her civilian life to serving and honoring her fellow women veterans. She is the founder and prime supporter of the Vietnam Women's Memorial Foundation, which established the only memorial dedicated to honoring military women on the National Mall. The establishment of the memorial became a milestone for recognizing women's service to this great country, a source for healing, peace, remembering, connecting, and empowering generations of women. Please join me in welcoming into the Hall of Fame former Army Captain Diane Carlson Evans. Diane couldn't join us today, but accepting the award on her behalf is former Army Lieutenant Edie Meeks. Edie Meeks served with Diane at the 71st EVAC, Pleiku, South Vietnam in 1969. Both were from Minnesota. They became hooch mates, battle buddies, and lifelong friends. Please welcome Lieutenant Meeks. Thank you.
Can you see me?
Pull that mic down to you. Pull it down. The mic.
I used to be taller. I could go on and on about how wonderful Diane is, and she knew that. So she said she was going to write the speech. So you finally get out of here before 5 o'clock. Thank you, Edie, dear sister veteran and friend, for being here to accept the prestigious award on my behalf and to share my remarks today. What a monumental honor for me and for my fellow inductees to be inducted into the U.S. Army Women's Foundation Hall of Fame. I was very proud to have served my country in the Army Nurse Corps during the Vietnam War. And that pride of service in my sister veterans, whom I worked alongside, led me to found the Vietnam Women's Memorial as the first and only memorial on the National Mall honoring women's military service. We fought for it, like we fought during the war, with courage and overcoming resistance, with that same persistence we dedicated to our mission as women soldiers. While building the Vietnam Women's Memorial, we women veterans sliced through decades of silence and transformed images and conversation about Vietnam, affirming that women share the crucible of war. The striking image, cast in bronze, of 3 women in uniform and a wounded soldier penetrate the public consciousness. Women fought antagonists from every corner of America for a memorial they had earned the right to decades earlier. We challenged elite art critics, bigotry, and in the end, altered a nation's thinking in how memory is shaped, how it heals its wounds, and how history records women's service. In 1993, finally, these heroic women of the Vietnam era were visible to the world. With gratitude, I accept induction into the Army Women's Foundation Hall of Fame on behalf of my sister veterans who too richly deserve this recognition, remembering the thousands of enlisted women, officers, and women of all military occupational specialties serving in the combat theater and all around the world, all worthy of remembrance and honor for believing we could make a difference serving our country. My hope is that all military women who served during the Vietnam era, including our civilian sisters serving in support of our armed forces wearing a different uniform, feel the healing power of the Vietnam Women's Memorial and will share their stories of service with their families and our nation. Ours is an inspiring story that can power women's future. It's not just for the women of the Vietnam era. It's for our daughters and our granddaughters, for the women who stepped up to serve today, and for our brother soldiers who united with us in the same patriotic spirit. As one woman soldier said, I have the same training as the men, I get the same pay, I signed the same oath. I should take the same risks. Thank you for all you do at the Army Women's Foundation for preserving our legacy. We will tell the truth and never be erased from history. Diane Carlson Evans.
Our last honoree this afternoon is our special recognition champion awardee. The Baltimore County Delta Foundation, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, was created to support public service and community outreach with a special focus on women, children, families, veterans, and the elderly. Through their Female Veterans Program, BCDF has raised funds for scholarships, provided assistance to break the cycle of homelessness and unemployment for some women veterans, and offered an online resource network of financial and referral assistance to women veterans. In honor of Women's History Month last year, BCDF collaborated with the Baltimore County Public Library to present the inaugural 6888 Day in Maryland, honoring the legacy of the 6888 Central Postal Directory Battalion of the U.S. Women's Army Corps. Please join me in welcoming our champions, the Baltimore County Delta Foundation, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. All of you, please come up. Let's squish you all up there.
Congratulations, ladies. Thank you.
All right.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
What a marvelous, marvelous afternoon. The sun came out just for us today.
Yes, it did.
Giving honor to God who orders our steps. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. Jeremiah 29:11. And this time, such as this, we need hope. I'd like to ask, if she hasn't already joined us, Patricia Heaton, the 6888 daughter of the late Private First Class Dolores Rudock. Dolores Rudock was in the class of 2016 of the Army Women's Foundation. Thank you for joining us. Good afternoon again. I'm Ernestine Jones Jolivet, member and former vice president of the Baltimore County Delta Foundation. On behalf of the Baltimore County Delta Foundation, I would like to thank the Army Women's Foundation Board of Directors for recognizing the work we have been charged to do, honoring our sisters who have given selfless service to our country in wartime and peacetime, and telling their stories, which is critical during these times when our accomplishments and stories are being erased from history. I also want to give thanks to you, all the past and present Baltimore County Delta Foundation presidents, Gladys Wade Bragg, Heather Ross, and Dr. Regina Wells Clark, our present president. Officers, board members, Dr. Nancy Connor, who thought about our homeless female veterans and gave us the idea to support. Sheila Bennett, Dr. Jacqueline Williams, Sharon Gamble, Dr. Brian S. Baxter-Roon, Adrian Dickerson, and volunteers. The Baltimore County Delta Chapter, BCAC, I also want to thank past and present officers, Gloria Marrow, Dr. Mabel Lake Mary, and Robert Jacobs, chapter members Deborah Peaks Coleman, Chaplain Captain Stephanie Handy, retired Army, who understood the mission. I'd like to thank the Honorable Verna Jones Rodwell, my sister, and my sister-in-law, Colonel, United States Army, retired Joanne C. Jolivet, our biggest supporters. Last but not least, a special thank you to Master Sergeant Elizabeth Ann Helm Frazier, who has been a blessing to us since our first stand down in 2014. We would like to conclude our acceptance of this award by paying it forward. The Baltimore County Delta Foundation is pleased to announce 2 monetary donations to the 6888 Scholarship Program in the name of Commander, U.S. Navy retired, Carlton G. Philpott, and Master Sergeant, U.S. Army retired, Elizabeth Ann Helm Frazier. Thank you again for recognizing Baltimore County Delta Foundation. Continue telling our stories. Congratulations to all the honorees. God bless everyone here today. And I would like to end like I began, giving honor to God who orders our steps. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. Thank you. Jeremiah 29:11.
Thanks to our partnership with the Army Women's Museum at Fort Gregg Adams, a permanent Hall of Fame, Champion Awards plaque, listing all the names will be displayed for the public. And thank you to all of you. The Army and Women's, I did something wrong. General Adams Ender. I will always defer to you, ma'am, in any case, because I know what's good for me.
Thank you.
I thank you. And I was sitting there, and I would be remiss if I did not say this. Captain Carlson, who left the Army as a captain, spoke at the Army Nurse Corps Association convention 2 years ago. And she talked about the challenges that came in getting that women's memorial for women from Vietnam. And she also talked very, very highly about one man who stood with her, who was a soldier, who stood with her at that time. And she spoke very eloquently about him. And he was Brigadier General George Price, retired. And I mention him because he just recently died. And it's 90 somewhere down in there. Yeah. And his sister, Leontine Price, who was an opera singer for many years, she's 97. She still lives. Yeah. There it is. I think he was 95. Wasn't he, Doreen? Yeah, 95 years old. So I just wanted to make sure that that got on the record, because George Price stood out there alone at that time when a lot of men wouldn't even talk to us. You see, I was there. Someone said they came in the Army in 74. I came in the Army in 1959. Long before women could even be generals in the United States Army. And so I want you to know, I know a lot about the history of the Army. And I'll tell you, we're going to get through this too.
So all you young folks, make sure you Google retired Brigadier General Clara Adams Ender and learn about this legend. Thank you, ma'am. And thank you to all of you. Look, AWF relies on the support of individual and corporate donors. I'm going to show a QR code. I'm going to do it right now. These are difficult times, as we learned to our chagrin as we reached out to raise funds for this event. The history of Army women is being scrubbed. Opportunities for Army women are being reconsidered. We at AWF are committed to standing strong for Army women, preserving our proud history and supporting those who follow in our footsteps. This is going to lead you to our donations page. We ask respectfully that you consider supporting our work as you see fit. And now, we're almost done. I'm going to turn the podium over to my friend, our president, Kathy Gainey, for just a few closing remarks.
Thank you, Sue and Alice, and congratulations to our scholarship recipients, class of 2025 Hall of Fame inductees. Let's give them all a round of applause. Sponsors, thank you for being with us to celebrate and honor Army women. I hope you are as inspired as I am by what you heard today on these women's accomplishments. And I'd like to express special thanks to our sponsors, individual donors, and partners. Thank you for your generosity to sustain our work, and thank you for celebrating with us today. And where would this foundation be without our dedicated volunteer board of directors? Committee members and volunteers, please stand and be recognized. And a special thanks to our Fort Gregg Adams-based team, the fabulous Beth Spitzley and Danielle Osbot. Thank you both. They are two of the countless people that make this magic happen every year. For more information about Army Women's Foundation, please pick up one of our brochures on the flyers in the back of the room, or go to our Google site, Google our site, www.armywomensfoundation, At this time, I'd like to invite the class of 2025 Hall of Fame recipients and the scholarship award winners forward for us to have a group photo and for following the cake ceremony. Please come forward here.